Представникот на амбасадата на Соединетите Американски држави во Македонија, во Република Северна Македонија, една од најактивните амбасади и најголемиот соработник на оваа програма. Ќе дадам збор на вршителката на должност амбасадорка на амбасадата на Соединетите Американски држави во Република Северна Македонија, Дженифер Littlejohn. Повелете.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to this important gathering focusing on fostering resiliency in youth and building cohesive communities. I always appreciate the opportunity to talk to youth and to be a part of programs that focus on fostering dialogue and contacts to address challenging issues. Before I begin my remarks, though, I would like to thank WorldChicago, and particularly President Peggy Paranoff, thank you, and her entire team for organizing this summit. I would also like to recognize the Center for Intercultural Dialogue for making so much of this possible. Not only today's event, but also this past week's visits to Kumanovo, Gostivar, and Debar. The U.S. Embassy is pleased to be supporting this project. The actions generated by this week's work will strengthen the ability of this country to partner with the United States on our shared objectives to include countering terrorism and preventing the spread of violent extremism. For the last several years, the Embassy has prioritized supporting community-based efforts that bring together stakeholders from all sectors of society to foster local resilience to violent extremism. We can learn a lot from Chicago's proactive approach to building cohesive communities, an approach that is fundamentally community-driven. You will hear about efforts aimed at supporting Chicago's most vulnerable youth who face many of the same challenges as youth here, and who turn to gang violence or gang affiliation to seek a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, and a sense of community. As an embassy, we are partnering with all elements of society, government, local municipalities, civil society, educators, religious leaders, social service providers, and youth, all to combat violent extremism by reinforcing communities, making them more cohesive, and better equipping them with the tools and the knowledge to recognize and to respond to potential radicalization. Let me give you just a few examples of how we've been working to put ideas into action. Our direct support to the National Committee to Counter Violent Extremism and Counterterrorism continues via an international expert that works with the committee on a daily basis. The US-funded Mother Schools Project, implemented by Women Without Borders, and the ZIP Institute, just celebrated this past Friday another graduation ceremony. We are proud to celebrate a new generation of mothers from the communities of Tetovo, Studenčani, say it properly.
Studeničani.
Thank you. And Gostivar, who serve as leading voices for tolerance and who are truly the first line of defense against extremism. I was pleased to hear that WorldChicago's team was able to travel to Kumanovo on Monday to meet with the mayor, the city council, police officers, and youth. Kumanovo is one of the country's best examples of a city committed to inter-ethnic dialogue and to engaging with the whole community to tackle problems. That is why we have partnered with the Institute for Strategic Dialogue and the Strong Cities Network to make Kumanovo a pilot city for a project to create a local prevention network. This network includes key local stakeholders who are working together to develop a plan to address issues of violent extremism. Through city exchanges and regional workshops, lessons learned, can be shared with other municipalities, both in North Macedonia and across the Western Balkans. We are also partnering with the University of Maryland's National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism to hold a series of municipal-level tabletop exercises in the coming year. The exercises will focus on best practices for collaboration between local governments and community leaders on countering violent extremism as well as reintegration. And we are working with the NGO Konica to train over 100 police officers on the fundamentals of community policing. Through small grants, we helped establish youth centers in Chayar and Gostivar, focused on bringing young people of various ethnicities together to build common understanding. As I'm sure the WorldChicago team witnessed in Gostivar, these centers are, without a doubt, leading the way in terms of demonstrating how communities can rally around youth, whether through after-school activities or skill-building classes or business entrepreneurship, IT, and communications. Our goal is simple: to give youth a stronger sense of belonging in a vibrant, resilient, multi-ethnic community. Now, a lot of good work is underway, and there's still much work to be done to develop a national reintegration plan for returned foreign terrorist fighters and their family members, and to build capacity to implement such a plan. And that's why, and that's where, local communities, civil society, and youth come into play. Building on this foundation, raising awareness, and bringing together communities to tackle the challenge of radicalization and violent extremism. We will continue to partner with you to maintain this positive momentum. Finally, I would like to stress that even after today's event, you all should maintain the linkages with one another to continue exchanging innovative ideas on strengthening community, developing community, and promoting cohesion. With that, I'd like to say thank you and best of luck with the rest of the summit and with the very, very important work that you all are doing here. Thank you.
Ви благодарам много за убавите зборови, кои се секако инспирација за нас и мотивација за понатамошната работа. Му давам збор на Ѓорги Тасев, кој е советник во владата на Република Северна Македонија и тоа специјален советник за млади и спорт на премиерот Зоран Заев. Повелете.
Благодарам, Јулија. Почитувани домакини, Центар за интеркултурен диалог, почитувана председателка на WorldChicago, почитувана заменик шеф на мисијата во амбасадата на САД во Република Северна Македонија, почитувани присутни, почитувани дами и господа. Денес ќе се осврнам на концептот на едно општество, кој што е еден од носечките столбови кој што го има владата на Република Северна Македонија. Меѓу другото, во овие 5 столба кој што е столб и концептот на едно општество влегуваат интеграцијата во Европската унија, членството во НАТО, борбата против корупцијата, недискриминацијата и борбата против говорот на омраз. Концептот едно општество за сите е мозаик на заедничко живење на различни култури и заедници во земјата, преку кој се детерминира идниот развој на Северна Македонија како место за живот на сите граѓани, без оглед на нивната етничка, политичка или било каква определба. Концептот за едно општество за сите и интеркултурализмот се тесно поврзани со вредности како владењето на правото, човековите права, демократијата, културата на мирот и диалогот, земното почитување, родовата еднаквост, како и европскиот идентитет. Различностите на нашето општество ги сметаме за наша предност и ќе продолжиме позитивно да ги користиме, да се учиме дека солидарноста, толерантноста и недискриминацијата по сите основи се придобивките што може само да не поврзуваат, а не да не делат. Преку оваа стратегија се дава правец на трансформација на нашето општество за да се обезбеди еднаквост, правда и еднакви можности за сите. Стратегијата нуди утврдени насоки кои нема да дозволат да се вратат на сцена политиките на поделби и предизвикување на конфликти, кои луѓето ги поделија на ваши, наши, на такви или онакви. Не смееме да дозволиме никогаш повторно да се повторат сите облици на физичко, вербално или психолошко насилство кон различните, кон припадниците на етничките заедници, кон обществените малцински или маргинализирани групи, кон припадниците на ЛГБТ популацијата или кон нашите граѓани со различна верска определба и кон лицата со попреченост. Докажавме дека има политичка и општествена волја за решавање на спорови. Можеме да докажеме дека умееме да бидеме модел и за успешно и функционално општество еднакво за сите. Модел за наша заедничка иднина која започнува со почитување на сите заедници во која различните култури ќе се почитуваат, ќе соработуваат, ќе се надополнуваат и меѓусебно ќе се збогатуваат. Интеркултурниот диалог, што и впрочем е врзан со концептот на едно општество, е најдобра гаранција за да има мирен, праведен и одржлив свет на културна разноликост. Свет во кој уникатноста на другиот е богатство на различноста во светот. Културната различност е инспирација и мотивација за креативноста како инвестиција за промени за подобри општество. Општество со хуман, човечки лик. Токму должноста на ова наше општество е да ги развиваме образованието и меѓукултурните вештини кај младите луѓе, за да ја одржиме различноста на нашата земја и да научиме да живееме заедно со различностите на нашите јазици, култура и религии. Стратегијата за развој на концептот на едно општество зема значајно место и меѓу другото, како што потенцирав, е еден од столбовите на владата и во самата заедница кај што живееме. Националната стратегија за развој на концептот за едно општество е документ кој што прв пат се подготвува во Република Северна Македонија, а од особено значење имајќи ја предвид поделеноста на општеството кое има во поразлични основи и кон кое се стремиме тоа да го минимизираме и да го оттргнеме. Документот се состои од 7 стратешки области: млади, локална самоуправа, образование, социјална кохезија, медиуми, култура и правна рамка, кои вклучуваат анализа на состојба, приоритети, цели, како и акционен дел. Токму овие секторски стратегии ги декларираат приоритетите, како и од нив произлезените цели, кои треба да придонесат со активности, што треба да ја овозможат на стратегијата менување на општествената стварност преку иницирање на процеси за поинтегрирано општество. Стратегијата е проектирана на 3 години, по кои повторно ќе се преиспитаат процесите и ќе се направи анализа за натамошните чекори. Овде би сакал да потенцирам и важноста и предонесот на секој граѓанин, здружение, организација, формална или неформална иницијатива во изработката на овој стратешки документ, бидејќи тој е документ кој го гарантира идентитетот на нашето општество како заедница за сите и на сите, заедница на равноправни граѓани. Огромно значење во стратегијата се става токму на кластерот млади, бидејќи младите се тие кои ги направија, ги прават и ќе ги прават промените во државата. И како такви, тие сакат да одат напред кон градење на општество по нивна мерка. Младите представуваат движечка сила на модерните демократии, кои треба да се во функција на будно око, кој ќе биде постојан коректив и носител на демократските промени и напредок во општеството. Во таа насока се и клучните приоритети и цели, кои се утврдени во овој кластер и за кои не постои никаков компромис, ниту скршнување од таа патека. Во период на сериозни општествени промени, кои се случуваа години наназад, иако постои тенденција за зголемување на менталната свест и прифаќање прогресивни идеи и нови можности, сепак се уште постои високо ниво на дискриминација и стереотипи кон различностите, кои се длабоко вкоренети во ставовите и секојдневното живење на младите луѓе. Ова отвара широко поле за справување со сите овие предизвици, со кои треба да се справат креаторите на политиките и носителите на одлуки, но пред се и младите, со цел да се искоренат и директно да се влијае на овие негативни форми и трендови. Од тие причини и во ситуација на евидентни етнички, социјални разлики и разединето општество, кај нас е потребна широка и специјализирана акција од сите релевантни институции, граѓански организации, како и поединци од повеќе области во функција на надминување на разликите кај младите и нивно зближување и помирување во однос на етничко, социјално, религиско, партиско, полово и сексуално ниво. Образованието, културата, спортот и останатите општествени сегменти кои се достапни за младите луѓе, гледано од повеќе сегменти, се идеален модус за поттик, приближување и запознавање на младите со вредностите на ферплејот, почитта, различноста, толеранцијата и заедништвото. Она што е клучно кога се однесува на кластерот млади во рамки на концептот за едно општество интеркултурализам, ги издвои следните приоритети и цели. и тоа што е утврдено веќе во самиот документ. Клучно е промовирање на ненасилството, толеранцијата и интеркултурната комуникација меѓу младите, елиминирање на говорот на омраза и криминалот од омраза, вклучително и од страна на органи, институции, конгреганите и релевите групи. Намалување на етноцентризмот меѓу младите и изолација на различните моногрупации, учество во заеднички активности и меѓусебна интеракција. Млади со еднакви можности и со нивна вклученост во процесите на донесување на одлуки, воспоставен систем за детектирање на говор на омраза и криминал од омраза, како на локално, така и на национално ниво, и намалена сегрегација и дискриминација на младите луѓе. Ова се клучни аспекти, каде токму тие приоритети се разработени во концизен акцијски план, преку кој ќе се постигнат и реализираат целите. Сите кои што сте заинтересирани можете да ја разгледате, да се вклучите во стратегијата, да ја следите нејзината имплементација и дисеминација и се поврзано со неја. Стратегијата има на веб страницата на Владата на Република Северна Македонија www.vlada.gov.mk. Мора да се знае дека токму овој документ е отворен, жив и динамичен, кој што постојано ќе го следи пулсот на развој на нашиот исклучително значаен проект, концептот на едно општество за сите. Тоа произлегува од граѓаните, затоа што тие најдобро знаат што им треба за градење на едно општество за сите, подобро и попросперитетно, во кое секој граѓанин ќе може да си го најде своето место, да живее безбедно, да работи и да придонесува за развојот на државата и на општеството. Ви благодарам.
Ви благодарам, господине Тасев. Преминуваме на следно ниво, а тоа е ако има можност гостите да кажат неколку збора за програмите и за институциите од каде што доаѓаат. Сега, почитувани гости, поддржувачи, наши партнери и сите представници на граѓанскиот сектор во Македонија, имате можност да поставите прашање, ако имате за некој од нашите гости панелисти.
Здраво, благодарам. Јас сум од Скопје, Орхан Асан. Може англиски или македонски? Македонски, да. Има превод. Благодарам што ме поканивте тука. Јас студент сум, абсолвент на социологија. Доаѓам од Здружение Рома Прогрес, заштита на млади роми и едукација на млади роми, Рома Прогрес. Пред сум многу спортски тип, па играв кошарка порано. Станав в последно време и тренер по кошарка и тоа е тоа. Сакам едно прашање да поставам за спорт Ѓорги Ташев, зашто мислам дека малку поразговараше за спортот и баш онака сакам од него мислење да даде како која е идејата или која е стратегијата за спортот во терените, во стадионите, во фудбалските, кошаркарските, мислам, стадиони или тоа, да се намали насилството, како он гледа на тоа и бидејќи пред се гледам дека има многу насилно навивање, многу лоши изрази, да се наречам, на стадионите и од каде доаѓа тоа, зашто во Европа не е така и тоа е тоа, ако може така некој мислење да даде.
Благодарам за прашањето. Знам дека беше поставено до Ѓорѓи, но би сакал да се задржи во агендата. Сега за кратко ќе преминеме во кафе пауза и затоа ќе имаме време, Ѓорѓи ќе биде тука и за вториот дел. Ќе имаме време да поразговарам на неформален начин, така да прашањето може да го поставиш. Би сакал да се држи во темата што не е за денеска, затоа доколку има некој во таа насока некој прашање било или препорака, би сакале да слушаме од ваша страна. Само уште едно прашање, ако може, веќе сме близо до кафе пауза.
Имаме овдека само едно прашање, поврзано со темата.
Atëherë, përshëndetje, jam Kutesa Gjeladini dhe profesor për Umilinor Islam. Dëgjova për strategjinë nacionale dhe më thonë që keni bërë për rinin. Kam përcjellur edhe në faqen zyrtare të Republikës Maqedonisë së Veriut dhe thënë të drejtëm nuk kam parë diçka në pjesën për zhvillimin e të rinjve që ka të bëjnë në lidhje me dialogun interkulturor, dhe kjo më ka vrarë synin edhe ndoshta kjo ka qenë se ta them ajo ideja që kam pasur, domethënë ta përcjell edhe këtu. sepse domethënë është folur për aktivitete sportive, është folur për zhvillim ekonomik, ku e diun çka, por nuk kam parë për shembull diçka konkrete për zhvillimin interkulturor. Si pikë e parë, si pikë e dytë tha që strategjia nacionale vë fokus tek zhvillimi i dialogut interkulturor, edhe kjo është një gjë shumë e mirë. Mirë, po më intereson se a keni parapar platformë ose program se si do ta realizoni këtë. Sigurisht që nuk mund ta realizoni dialogun mes të barabartëve më të lartë dhe të barabartëve më të ulët, apo? Se kemi kështu, domethënë, komunitetet përcaktohen me përqindje. A keni parapar në strategji nacionale për zhvillim ndërkulturor se përqindjet janë të dëmshme, ku domethënë edhe në përfaqësimin e politike kemi femrën me 30%, pastaj kemi shqiptarët 20% dhe pakitat e tjera domethënë më pak, dhe a mendoni se kjo e dëmton komunikimin ndërkulturor?
Ти благодарам за прашањето. Прво, овој столб, овој документ, јавен документ, е правен врз основа на широки консултации и инклузија со сите граѓани, со представници на граѓанскиот сектор, на цивилниот сектор и со представници и на помалите етнички заедници во државата, кои што се вклучени не само во делот на млади, туку во сите сегменти кои што ја нуди оваа стратегија. Во однос на вашето прашање, нашата идеја од тргнување за креирање на ова стратегија беше и останува да креираме едно општество за сите, вклучително и делот за преку интеркултурниот диалог, да ги промовираме тие вредности за кои што се залагаме прво и како индивидуи, па после и како представници на институции на системот. Во однос на прашањето како ќе го реализираме ова, на кој начин ќе се реализира процесот на интеркултурен диалог за имплементација и реализација на ова стратегија, прво треба да знаеме дека ова што го презентирав е еден само широк опфат на ова што ние го имаме како концепт, бидејќи за секој кластер поединечно постои широк акцијски план со дефинирани институции кои што го следат процесот на реализација и дисеминација, предвидени буџетски ставки, предвидени индикатори. Токму тука е она што прво и јас како млад човек и второ како представник од институцијата кај што доаѓам, барам токму од сите граѓани, институции, граѓански организации да се вклучат токму во тој процес во следење и реализација на акцијскиот план. Бидејќи тука е најважниот дел за да бидеме сигурни дека токму вашата грижа, вашето прашање оди во таа насока дека се ќе се реализира онака како што е зацртано. Тоа е главната придобивка што бидејќи ова е само прва фаза. Ние го донесовме документот, но она што е најважно е секако следењето и имплементацијата на овој стратешки документ. Бидејќи реален сум, кажувам дека и претходно имало јавни документи, постоеле стратешки документи кои што ги има на хартија, но за жал изостанува процесот на имплементација и следење како ќе се реализира сето тоа. Така да во таа насока и одговорот на моето прашање, остануваме посветени и јас, овде ќе го потенцирам и националниот координатор кој што е директно поврзан и креаторот на оваа стратегија, господинот Роберт Лагјозовски, за сите прашања, така да и ве повикувам прецизно и да го следите цел процес на имплементација на овој стратешки документ со цел да креираме општество за сите.
Ви благодарам многу. Пред да заминеме на пауза, јас би сакала само да им оддадеме навистина почит и благодарност пред се на организаторите, на сите представници од граѓанската организација ЦИТ, на представниците од WorldChicago, на представниците од амбасадата на Соединетите американски држави во Република Северна Македонија и на владата на Република Северна Македонија. Еден голем аплауз за сите. Пред да заминеме на кафе пауза, само да кажам дека кафе паузата ќе трае до 11 часот и 15 минути, 15 на минути порано од она што го имавме во агендата. Веднаш по кафе паузата ќе имаме можност да слушнеме 5 панелисти кои ќе дискутираат на оваа многу интересна тема за која не многумина сакаат да говорат. Ручекот за денеска е закажано од 13 часот и 30 минути до 14 часот и 30 минути и веднаш по ручекот ќе имаме уште еден блок работа во групи. За сите оние кои сакаат навистина да поставуваат прашање и интерактивно малку повеќе на оваа тема да дискутираат, ве поканувам во 11 часот и 15 минути веднаш по кафе паузата да се вратиме овде. Ви благодарам многу уште еднаш. Почитувани гости, ало, супер. Почитувани гости, 11 часот и 15 минути. Преминуваме во вториот сегмент од денешната конференција. Ќе ве замолам да се вратите на вашите места и ќе ги замолам говорниците исто да ги завземат своите места. Неколку логистички информации пред да започнеме. За оние кои се присутни во просторијава, треба да знаете дека има лайв стриминг на веб страницата, односно на Facebook страницата на ЦИТ. Колегите наши се тука во аголот, ако сакате нешто пред камера да кажете некој и да поздравите, можете тоа да го направите. Имаме во аголот преведувачи на англиски и на албански јазик, што значи целата оваа конференција се одвива паралелно на 3 јазика. Македонски, албански и англиски. Ке ве замолам за оние кои не владеат еден од овие 3 јазика, уште сега од оваа маса овде, од мојата лева страна, да земете слушалки за да може да го пратите преводот. За говорниците кои ќе преминат сега на една од пленарниве сесии, ќе замолам да зборуваат малку поспоро, за да може преведувачките, во овој случај имаме 4 прекрасни преведувачки, да можат да го следат целиот ваш говор соодветно. И доколку имате прашања, само да знаете, ние ќе имаме 5 говорници сега. 5 говорници ќе зборуваат на еден од јазиците, можеби кои вие не ги зборувате. Но ќе имаме можност после секој од нив да вие поставувате прашања поврзани со она за кое еден од панелистите зборува. Ве молам, останете фокусирани, ќе биде навистина многу интересно. И за сите кои допрва се приклучуваат на лайв стримингот, би кажала уште еднаш дека Сдруженијето Центар за интеркултурен диалог од Kumanovo во соработка со WorldChicago од САД и со финансиска поддршка од амбасадата на Соединетите Американски држави во Република Северна Македонија, го организира денешниот национален самит на тема Отпорна младина за кохесивни заедници, кој денес во Скопје, во хотелов Holiday Inn, ќе се одржи за прв пат. Ова е многу интересно затоа што кога разговаравме ние со представниците на ЦИТ, тие очекуваат дека ќе има 100 присутни во салата. Преска со нами и со Флори ми разговаравме дека имаме повеќе од 140 присутни кои дошле утрово кај нас. Оваа платформа за која ние денеска ќе зборуваме е платформа на која ќе бидат присутни луѓето кои се експерти позади мене и се експерти во борбата против насилен или ненасилен екстремизам и професионалци од соодветни граѓански организации кои ќе дискутираат на теми поврзани со ненасилен екстремизам и вие, присутните овде, ќе имате можност денеска да слушнете малку повеќе за ефикасни техники за задржување и реинтеграција на младите, ќе слушнете за иницијативи за подобрување на можности за вработување, практики на американските институции кои работат заедно во насока на поддршка на еднакви права и слобода на говор. Ќе имаме можност да слушнеме за најдобри практики во кампањите против омраза и дискриминација во виртуелните и во реалните простори, потекло на кампањите кои вршат дезинформации, нивна намера и најдобри практики во борба против дезинформациите. Ќе слушнеме многу интересни работи во врските помеѓу европските и американските групи на омраза и можниот опсек на синергии помеѓу невладините организации во Соединетите Американски држави и Северна Македонија. И една од интересните работи е можноста да се представат Соединетите Американски држави овде како глобален лидер во меки и тврди стратегии за борба против насилниот екстремизам на ниво на заедниците и државата. И ќе имаме 5 говорници, како што кажав. Најпрво, тоа ќе биде Тени Грос, кој е извршен директор на Institute for Non-Violence Chicago. Ке ги кажувам имињата во оригинал како што се нема да ги преведувам, за да можете соодветно да ги следите. Вториот говорник, иако во агендата е со поинаков редослед, ќе биде Флорим Реджепи, кој е програмски координатор во Центарот за меѓукултурен диалог. Ќе имаме можност Джералд Хандерсон, кој е координатор во Council on American Islamic Relationship, и имаме за моја многу голема чест и една дама меѓу нас, која е Мерил Мусли Тајаровска, кој е консултант за екстремизам и радикализација во граѓанската организација Плејадес. Сосема за крај на овој дел на 5 панелисти ќе зборува Семи Ренгел, кој е коосновач и извршен директор на Life After Hate. Како што кажав, овие 5 мина ќе имаат по 15 минути време и јас сум овде сепак во функција да ги стопирам кога ќе им поминат тие 15 минути, да знаете дека на 3 минути пред крај ќе ви дадам знак. Ќе имаат можност од самата маса да зборуваат или двајца од нив ќе имаат можности да презентираат на PowerPoint. Како што кажав, 15 минути имаат блок секој од нив. После тие 15 минути е време за вас. Можете да водите белешки, можете да прашувате интересни или да коментирате на нивните презентации и уште еднаш да кажам дека поради преведувачите кои се со нас, можете да користите опрема и ќе ги замолам уште еднаш говорниците да зборуваат малку поспоро. Ви благодарам многу. Го повикувам Тени Грос да пристапи.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Tenny Gross. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute for Nonviolence Chicago. My background is I'm an Israeli who served in the army and then reached out to Palestinians to try and work on a peace process in my country. And I worked at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard on the issue of refugees, water, issues like that. But my mother was a Serbian from Belgrade. My father was a Croatian from Zagreb. I have an interest in this area and I really want you guys to be successful. This week that we spent here in different cities in North Macedonia, we were really impressed with the young people, with your talent, with the potential. And we also, people spoke to us very frankly about what needs to change. And I'll try and adopt what I speak about and what I work on, that it will be relevant for you, because we're really here, we came here to serve you and act as cheerleaders. We want you to be successful as well. And maybe also not make some of the mistakes that were done in the United States, or not to mention in my country as well. I've been working on particularly gang violence in the last 29 years. I started in Boston, what we call during the period of the crack epidemic. It was very serious levels of violence in the late 80s and 90s. In Boston, our collaboration and how we changed the work of the police and the city and investment in young people resulted in about 80% reduction in homicides. I was recruited in 2001 by a Catholic church to Rhode Island, which is a state south of Massachusetts and Boston, where they had similar issues of poverty, divisions, people who immigrated from many places and felt isolated. And took us about 10 years. We helped to change the police mindset, the city, opportunities for young people. And in 2016, for the first time, there was not even one gang homicide in Providence. I was recruited to go to Chicago 4 years ago. Chicago is the most violent big city in America. It's consistently for the last 40, 50 years had high levels of violence. The same was true for Los Angeles and New York and other cities, but they used some of the reforms that were done in Boston and reduced the violence significantly. So what I'm going to talk about in a way is bad news, good news kind of a story, right? You don't have these levels of violence, I understand that. But some of the lessons, when it is so tough and the challenges are so big and you can still make a difference, should be hopefully hopeful for you that you don't have these levels of violence and your intervention can also get good results, and that's what we hope. But if you will take the wrong course, in my opinion, you might have an increase in violence and young people don't feel connected, and it will be a risk, right? So a lot is at stake. The United States in the 70s and the 80s, right? In the late 60s, let me go back, we had the civil rights movement, but quite a few leaders were assassinated. And hope was starting to decline. And many cities in America experienced around racial line and groups that felt not connected, felt hopeless. And many downtowns and many cities in neighborhoods burned, right? And the government reacted with the rise of crimes and drugs with 600% increase in jails population. United States has by far the largest population in jail in the world, right? And that was a decision, this was a policy decision to be tough on people in poor neighborhoods who are committing crime. This can happen here too. We can decide to just be hard and go after people who commit crime. And for 20, 30 years, that was the decision the United States. They built more and more jails. And we now have neighborhoods where there's almost no parents. People come in and out of jail. So it disrupts the whole structure of the family and hope for young people. In Boston in 1990, we had a similar situation. And some of us started to work in a new way. Some of us who were outreach workers who worked with gang members, and usually they're not like me, they're really from the community. Some of them themselves had a past of committing crimes and were involved in that. We start to train ourselves to be peacemakers and go out, and if you can put that slide, I just want to show where we are now in the United States, right? I'll get to that in a minute. And there were some religious leaders who also got involved. Instead of being in their buildings, whether it's a mosque or a church, they got out to the streets and started connecting with young people. Between religious leaders and outreach workers, we also reached out to the government and some other interested parties, probation officers. And instead of advocating for locking people up, more people in jail, we started to advocate for summer employment for young people, year-round employment, leadership development. We said that we cannot compete with other places if a good part of our population is in jail and not being productive and not having hope. Who is more dangerous, a person with hope or a person without hope, right? So we reached out to the people that everyone at the time was saying, it's too late for them, just work with the young people. Forget about the people who are involved in violence. Write them off. They will only understand force. And we said no. And we started reaching out to the people who are generating most of the violence. So that was 1990. In 1995-96, Boston experienced a reduction of 80% in its homicide, and for 27 months, there was no young person killed, which is still the record in a country for a big city. 30 years forward, where we are today, this is a headline from this week in the United States. Most of America now accepts this strategy. Instead of being just tough on young people and just using police and jails as a tool, most American cities now understand that you gotta work with the young people who are involved in violence. And in Chicago, let me just see how I'm doing for time. In Chicago, 4 years ago, the tools were still arrest, aggressive tactical units. Now we have more than 3,000 people being shot every year in Chicago. This is a serious problem, right? We had actually 700 plus homicides. Think about that, right? In a city of 2.8 million. High levels of violence. In fact, a young man looking like Gerald in the neighborhood I work with had a better chance getting killed than I had as a soldier in Lebanon. Think about that, a civilian in a city. And when I came to Chicago, we started to build an alternative. We started to build an architecture, of outreach workers. We started to train the police to work differently. We started to build big infrastructure of employment for young people that had very serious incident of violence. Usually in a society, it's true in the United States, I would guess it could be here, 0.3% of the youth community generate 70% of the violence. Think about it. 0.3% makes 70% of the violence. That's very good news. It means if we focus on a small group of people, especially, and don't write them off, but invest in them, bring them back to our society, give them opportunities, they respond well. Young people in Chicago who are very, very traumatized, and people thought nothing will work with them, are responding like anyone else in the world very well to love. Right? So I can talk about all the programs and what we do, but at the end of the day, what we do is relationship. So you think to yourself, what's the size of my NGO that I just built in Chicago in the last 4 years? We have 80 staff. 80 staff. Some of the people that work for the Institute for Nonviolence committed homicides when they were younger. Some of them were gang leaders. Some of them were very powerful people who did a lot of damage because they responded to the environment they grew up in. But ultimately, we knew and they knew they wanted to give back to their community. They're very dedicated to build peace. It's hard to get them to take time off. Practically, we respond 24 hours a day. And again, you don't have it here anywhere near that. But we're always, and I heard some of the youth workers here, they also respond, well, Florian, you said it, right? 24 hours a day, people call you, young people call you. We really believe, if you're a banker and you close at 3, that's okay. But if you reach out to a youth worker, we should always be responsive. We never know when a young person is desperate. Right? Might be the last time they reach out to the adult society. So we created a system that 24 hours a day, one of us, 2 of us responding. And we connect with young people. We created employment. Also, we created something called cognitive behavioral therapy. For people who are very traumatized, we help them 3 times a week. They sit in classes. We give them a stipend. And they go through cognitive behavioral therapy. You cannot just tell someone move from violence or trauma or war to just being a regular, normal, peaceful person, right? It takes all of us, I'm a former soldier, to become peaceful, to care about my former enemies. It takes time to change. It's a process, to care about other people, to build empathy. And we as a society need to care and invest in that so that we don't lose our young people. And my recommendation, I think what we see now very strongly in the United States, the researched evidence, is the system that reach out to young people and build with them. It doesn't mean police and enforcement has stopped, right? This is not chaos and anarchy, but there's now a lot of alternatives. We now have prosecutors of the government sending us people who got arrested with guns and say, let's see if you can work with these young people. You will be the first choice. This is the prosecutors of the government and the police are doing it, sending young people to us. So I hope that young people that were maybe labeled here in this society as extremists will have opportunities already when they're in prison, or if they're not, to have a chance to build and learn and be integrated. We also saw great examples here of people learning in both languages and having chance to be together. That is so important, right? Our divisions are often created. They're not natural, right? But we fall to different sides and camps. And tragically, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Belfast, whether it's in Brazil, whether it's in the United States, those divisions cost society a lot. And finally, one more observation. You know that you compete now in a global economy. And Macedonia, North Macedonia is a small place. I don't think you can afford to be divided, right? You have to compete with much bigger entities. So it's in everyone's self-interest. And that's why we know even in America, we don't just appeal to people's good heart. Economically, Chicago could be 5 times the economy that it has now, 5 times bigger, if there wasn't the levels of violence and jail usage. Those are very expensive alternatives, sending people to jail. And people don't build and don't open restaurants and don't start businesses, and people don't become great composers and musicians if they're involved in violence. Women don't run in the park and get healthy if they're afraid to run when it's not safe. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ви благодарам много. Имате можност да поставувате прашања. Веќе гледам една од нашите гостинки дека има прашања. Имаме 2 бежични микрофони кои ќе кружат во салава. Слободно поставувајте прашања. Ве молам.
Hi, my name is Blagica. I come from North Macedonia, representing the youth, of course. So I have a question. I read that you will be piloting one program, Youth SOAR, Sports and Arts for Resilience. How do you think that will solve the issue, will lower the percentage of violence with the youth? And also, do you think that maybe social enterprises will help to decrease that violence, and for the people, let's say if they were before in prisons, to get them more into the society, to be more social inclusive? Thank you.
Ако има дополнителни прашања, ве молам, ќе собереме неколку прашања и ќе му дадеме можност на нашиот гостин да одговори.
Hi, my name is Julia Chiliku. Oh, it's me. Yes, I can speak in English. I'm Albanian. I teach in State University of Tetova, political science. I also fight for women's rights, but I work with young people because I have a lot of students. I've lived in Chicago. I'm a US citizen too. So I was really careful in your speech, and so I know how dangerous it is to live in Chicago. There are places that you can't go, really, you know, even policy can't protect you from these places. Here in Macedonia, it's relaxed. It's not dangerous to live. and young people are very productive and very smart, but the worst thing here is no opportunity, no economy. So here is the point. We have to think and find the best things, what we can bring for the states to give to our young generations something.
What is it that makes them think the way they think? Again, I think Sammy is going to talk more about that. How do you change that? What are being surrounded by positive people? You have youth groups here that we met and are very impressive. What's the scale? Chicago had a lot of good programs and violence was extreme. Why? They had the wrong dosage, the wrong amount, right? So that's another thing, tailoring the solution to the problem, right? You talked, I think, about legitimacy. Every city that I worked with and had high levels of violence, I'll tell you in Providence, the police commanders bought their positions from the mayor. The mayor went to jail, the command staff was removed, it was a chance for reform. In Chicago, 2 weeks ago, the chief of police was fired. A new one was brought from Los Angeles, and now they're going to search for someone permanent. The leadership was very poor, so it's all related. We work very strongly. We identify leaders in police that we believe are, and we educate them to be forward-looking. And we start not advocating for the leaders who are not. Things have to change. Everyone needs to feel the change, right? So the same will apply here. Yes, it's safe to be in North Macedonia. It don't have the issues of Chicago. But even in Chicago, or anywhere, when you want to, in Chicago the problems are so big, but it started with, in the neighborhoods we work with, young men, if they dropped out of school, their unemployment rate was 70%. That's a very bad recipe, right? If you look at extremism here, is there connectivity from dropping from school and being unemployed, right? So it's connected. Chicago, people spoke a lot of good talk, but didn't provide opportunities in big amounts of neighborhoods, which I think you know since you were there. So we're now connecting and bringing resources to those neighborhoods. Whether we are hiring former gang members as peacemakers, that's an employment program. Whether we're hiring young people still in gangs who are selling drugs to survive, instead of just punishing, we're creating now employment opportunities. And they prefer to work in a safe environment than being on the street, surviving in a dangerous way. So really this common sense applies. I just met with Palestinians in Israel, similar thing, unemployment, discrimination, not being noticed. It's pretty universal, different levels of violence. We have more guns than you do in the United States, unfortunately. I don't want to get too political, but that is a big difference. But generally in many places, same was in Belfast, Catholic and Protestants. One group didn't have access to jobs. That created problem. Once you address it, but you cannot just address with jobs. You need jobs, you need arts, but also someone got to have relationship. You got to build relationship. People who come from those communities, right? It's complex, but not too complex. In many ways, it's common sense. In the United States, we ignored common sense for 30 years, and we paid very dearly for it. Now we're going back to common sense. Common sense is every one of us as human beings want to belong. We want an opportunity, we want hope. But if I'm causing pain, and Sammy is going to talk about that, it's not just like, here is a job, you're going to be great now. There is a process to change your life.
Тери ви благодарам многу. Доколку имате прашања повеќе за Тери, верувам дека за време на ручек ќе најдете маса близко до него за да може да разговарате. Флорим Реджепи е програмски координатор во Центарот за интеркултурен диалог во Куманово. Го познам повеќе години и знам дека има што да каже токму на оваа тема. Флорим, 15 минути се твои, во овој момент PowerPoint ќе ги замолам и луѓето кои имаат лайв стриминг да прикажуваат дел од презентацијата на Флорим.
Thank you. So I'll speak in English. That's the donor's language, so some people might like it. So I'm almost 10 years working actively in SID, and it's been a challenge because if I say what I was doing first time when I entered in SID, I would probably say I'm stuck there. So we are still dealing with the same problems, but we are not giving up. As you can see, the title, it says Prevention Through Youth Work in Multiculti. How many of you know what is youth work? Please raise your hand. Well, that's impressive. So back then, like 10 years ago, that would be only the people who had the chance to get a visa to go to European Union to participate in some European Commission programs. And that's improving, and we are very happy about that. And that's something that really we believe that it is an approach to work with young people. And when we speak of youth work, it means that we do work with young people, but together with them. We don't plan we don't do some activities that don't involve young people, and we don't do activities that not only young people participate, but also they have their say, they are involved in the planning, and most of the time they are also leading. And why it's important, youth work, it's proven to be successful, and it's proven to be valuable for the community. It targets people who are, young people who are vulnerable, young people who are left alone outside the mainstream communities. We believe that taking care of the most vulnerable is also very important, because we speak of human rights, and human rights it's very closely connected to equality, and not equality on paper, on law, but also treating each other as equals, regardless of the background, regardless of the status or whatever history they have. And speaking of multiculti and prevention, so we've done, that's the key to prevention work. We've focused a lot in the past years in building multicultural competences and intercultural competences to young people and empowering them to act. But unfortunately, something very bad happened to our community. So, and that was May 9th, 2015, which for some of you might know it as the European Day, when the Europe was kind of liberated in a way. But for us was an unfortunate event, kind of, which still to today nobody knows why it happened, and nobody has answers to it. But there was a big damage done to our community, and our youth center is located in that area. And for that reason, we felt that we need to act. We have to do something about our community. Whatever has been done up until that point was reflected also on the response of the local community, in which it proved that Kumanovo has grown. It proved that Kumanovo is aware and is resilient. That the members of the community, random members of the community, came out and spoke out that they are living together and they're working together, and that they will not be a target of some extremists who have an idea that they want to break the society and build I don't know what. So, and that also inspired us and motivated us to even strengthen the programs that we do with young people, and also strengthen the work that we do at a local level. And that's which really shows us that working locally is a key to having a bigger impact in the community and society. So our focus is mainly on generic prevention, having in mind that there are also other kind of preventions, like targeted and indicated prevention, where it's more specialized. But we strongly believe that without generic prevention, you cannot have a targeted prevention, you cannot have a indicated prevention. Because yes, you can indicate people and you can target, work with them, but then where they are going. Like this is so, they are so linked, those stages are so linked with each other that without starting from the beginning, it's very hard to kind of have this greater goal. And you might ask yourself also why we do this. And first thing that comes into my mind is it is our responsibility. We are members of the community, and it's our responsibility to act in the community. And that's really the key that keeps us motivated to work. Youth work, just to clarify, it's not a name of a project, it's not a name of a program, it's an approach, it's a systematic approach to providing space for young people to engage in the community. And that's why we believe that it is crucial to provide systematic support to young people. In between, I want to ask one more question from the audience. How many of you are representatives of NGOs? Please raise your hand. Cool. How many of you are youth, just because you like the name of the event and you read the agenda and you like it? How many of you are just young people who just came here because you like to come in? Cool. How many of you are teachers or school staff or some kind of institution? Let's keep it schools. Great. You see that the hands are getting less and less, huh? So how many of you are members of the government? Oh. Oh. Okay, that's my friend, by the way, so that doesn't count. We don't promote nepotism. So it's just because there is in a role to respect me. So you see, like at this event reflects our reality, reflects what we are dealing with. So as we go to grassroots, and you can see how much we have progressed. You see how much the institution we have a common respect and a common understanding, and we are working together. But somehow we still lack like a bigger, more serious approach from the government, which unfortunately they are not present today with us here. And that speaks a lot about their interest and what they want, how they want to deal with this issue. So how do we do it, youth work in Multiculti, and why we do it? Like our main objectives are to inform young people about opportunities, because opportunities are key to change. If they see something that they interest, if they see something that might spark an interest, that also helps them to redirect and help them define their life objectives, their personal growth objectives. Another key aspect of our work is to provide a positive narrative in the community. So a lot of organizations work with human rights and trust building and peace building and multiculturalism, but let's question ourselves, do we as young people reflect on that experience? Do we create an environment in which human rights are lived in that small environment that we work with young people? So not only teach them, but also build their attitudes in a respectful manners towards human rights. So, and when it comes to this, we also help young people to mediate difficult discussions. And this is also maybe some of the most important role that we have as youth workers, that we provide a platform to young people that, yes, you can talk difficult situations, and yes, you should address your stereotypes, but also in a respectful manner, in a way that they also feel free to open and talk about them. And as I mentioned, understand human rights, and most important, promote change. Because if we talk only about problems and if we talk about things that if we just go into the blaming phase, also that will create a sense of depression, so, and apathy. So, and when we provide young people with opportunities to change something, to become active members, it's kind of, they also not only talk about change, but also they do change things. And of course, there is the collaboration part at all different levels. You see how we are collaborating with some schools, with police unit, and with the international community, which I didn't mention, and which are in a great number today. And I'm very happy and glad for that part. Here is the name of our youth center, and we call it Multiculti. And here is something very important what I would like to note in this regard is when we work with young people, we have to create an environment that they like. It's an environment in which they feel that it's their own. It's not a project that some international organization or whatever international donor is providing support to, but they need to feel that this is for their community and it's done by them. And how do we do that? Is we work with, when it comes to educational part, we use non-formal education, which I guess now it's becoming more and more popular as an approach to learning. We create an intercultural environment for learning. And we build confidence and empower young people to act. And here are some things that maybe we learned throughout our work, and that is to focus. So when you work in intercultural dialogue, some key aspects that we believe are important and come from us to young people in order to build trust among them is to create a common space which is safe for everyone. To have equal representation, call it gender, call it social status, call it ethnic background, and as well as develop their capacities, as they are very important in terms of how they want to act to change. So a lot of them have a very good ideas, innovative, but sometimes we have to also help them show the way, how it's the easiest way to do it. And also bilingual approach. In Macedonia, it's proven that the language is very key to the differences among the communities, and we try to show that, yes, it's good to be different, but also we should respect each other in that way. And how do we do this through more concrete way? We do youth camps or youth trainings and to empower young people. We provide a leadership academy, which we call it CID Academy, and I think there are a lot of CID Academy members back then. I want to hear a noise from you. So just those are our young leaders in the organization, and we offer volunteer clubs. Those are kind of task force ideas led by young people. So if they have an idea, they come, they create their own club, they do whatever they have envisioned. And you might say, what has to do this with violence and extremism? We believe that it is key when we speak of finding, because violence and extremism in our, it's a product, it's an outcome. We have to look at the roots. And the best way to find the roots and look into the problem is through asking young people. And when we ask young people, we say, okay, we know what the problem is, and we are going to tell them how to change. And again, this is, in our opinion, this is a mistake. We ask young people how to change, because if in the end of the day they have a problem, and then they are the one who will grow in learning how to change the environment and the place they are working. Yeah, so I think I'm very much on time. Thank you, and yeah, maybe I would like to hear some questions from you.
40 на секунди пред времето. Одлично. Благодарам, Флорим. Дали за Флорим имате прашања? Гледам овдека 1, 2, во ред 3. Повелете.
Благодарам. Поздрав до сите. Чест и задоволство да сум меѓу вас. Përshëndetje për të gjithë, ndër dhe kënaqësi të jem në mesin tuaj e para këtyre panelistëve të shkëlqyer. E gjitha ajo që unë desha të them u tha paraprakisht, po unë vetëm dua të shtoj. Është kënaqësi të jesh mes të rinjësh, është knatësi edhe më e madhe të punosh me të rinjt. Të gjithë ne thirremi në emër të rinjve. Dikush bile thot të rinjat janë e ardhmja jonë. Unë do të kisha shtuar jo vetëm me ardhmja, e sotmja jonë, e cila jashtëzakonisht mungon. Nëse marrim fëmin nga mosha më e vogël e tij, ai është më i pastërt, më i çiltërt në mendimet e vet. Dhe nuk ka asnjë paragjikim i cili do ta pengonte me kënd do të luan. Çfarë ndodh më tutje? Përderisa ai rritet, hyn në këto ujëra. Unë problemin e shoh dikun tjetër. A, brzo mli? Dobro. Da počekam ili? Da probaš. Благодарам. Pra e shoh problemin tek të rriturit. Nuk është tek të rinjt, është tek neve. Mendoj se këtu do të ishte shumë më mirë sikur prezenca të ishte mos shprehem me përqindje, por shumë më e madhe të rinjëve. Ata të thonë të vetëm, janë të shkëlqyeshëm në idetë e tyre gjatë orëve të mësimit. Çfarë bëjmë neve? Ju përgjigjemi në mënyrë demagogjike, e themi që është demagogjia dhe përsëri bëhemi demagog. Duhet pa tjetër me gjithë fuqinë, me gjithë potencialin që kemi ne, të mendojmë vazhdimisht të lëm hapësirën që ata të shprehin të vetë. Deri kur kishte një panel pak para disa javësh. Nxënësi thotë deri kur unë do të shiqoj televizion në emër të dikujt, deri kur unë do të mësoj diçka në emër të dikujt, kur do të filloj të bëj diçka për vete nga ajo që unë di. Ju faleminderit, mos shtoj më shumë. Ju përgëzoj.
Përshëndetje, unë jam Aldin Isaki nga Tetova, mësoj në gjimnazin 7 Marsi, jam në vitin e 3, gjithashtu jam edhe kryetari i Këshillit të Nxënësve që ne kemi formuar në shkollën tonë dhe funksionon në kuadër të shkollës. Dhe pyetja ime është se a keni ndonjë ide që të bëhet ndonjë avancim në mënyrën e informimit të rinjve për aktivitetet që ju i organizoni, sepse edhe si nxënës në shkollë, edhe si përfaqësues në Këshillin Rinor Komunal, unë e shoh se një problem i madh të nxënësit është se nuk janë të informuar për aktivitetet të tilla, po e shoh që dëshira për të marrë pjesë është e madhe dhe a mendoni të avanconi mënyrën e informimit për këto aktivitete? Faleminderit.
I would like to ask about the misconceptions people have in the process of becoming a youth worker, and also how can we overcome and combat those challenges and in order to communicate more sufficiently and more effectively. Thank you.
Дали има още едно допълнително прашање или Флорин може да отговори? Не? В ред. Флорин, повели.
Thank you very much. I'll speak in English. I guess young people understand very well. About the informing of young people, I think that's the challenge since the first day I was volunteering in the organization. And it's an ongoing and evolving question because also the media that young people and the channels young people are using are also changing. But also the attitude of mostly of the institutions is not changing. So if I say I want to inform young people, they will say, yes, put something on the table that we have in front of the door and maybe somebody will read it. So, we can also find and blame someone, but I think what played an effective role is to find young people that are influentials and young people who could share the information with their peers. So, and for now, that's how the effective approach is working. So instead of opening a Facebook event, which most probably now in this room, I can guess half of the people even don't have Facebook, we try to find alternative means and channels of communication. We have a Snapchat account, we have an Instagram account, we do DMs with our youth workers and with our young people, and that's how we communicate. And maybe that's, you would say, it's unprofessional, it's not something, it's not official. Yes, but that's what young people like, and we have to adapt to it. So, and that's kind of, we try to involve as much more young people so they spread the word. And so basically, you are a youth council member, if I'm not wrong, and a leader of your high school. So I guess you have a council of at least 20 other leaders that elected you, yeah? So, and they have 200 more young people. So, and that, if you go and, I don't know, post it on Facebook or something, it is good, but also I think use your connections, use your networks. That's the fastest way of spreading the message and information. And in regard to what we provide as an opportunity, sometimes we are also so there are two challenges that we face. First is the language we use to young people, and second is to use a language that young people are happy and also the donor community is happy. Because if you don't list the objectives, and maybe they might think that, okay, I don't know what you're doing. And this is finding the balance between these two things is very hard, because with the donor community, we hope that we will build more trust in the way how we approach young people, and tell them that it's not important to put the logo on the right side and with the color blue hashtag 3456 or whatever number it is, because this is really reducing our capacities and capabilities to engage directly with young people rather than focusing on some administrative issues. And the language we use, which is very fast evolving, and all the slangs, and keep it simple, keep it the language that young people talk to you, and that's how we approach the easiest way. And a lot of activities are for fun. So first, if they don't find it interesting, they will not come to, I don't know, educate themselves, because they say school is enough. So promote fun, promote engagement, and then also on the way learn something. And as of the second question, it is a struggle. I think, I don't know if you are familiar with the Union of Youth Workers of Macedonia. So there is a kind of a joint effort with also other organizations to provide the quality of youth work, and also spread youth work as such. So among others, we as SID are member of that organization, and I see a lot of colleagues from the Union of Youth Workers and other youth workers that are here present. So, and the good thing about youth work is that it is adaptive, and it is changed, it changes, but the key approach is that if you are interested young person who want to help your community, want to help young people, do it and help it, because in every context, in every community, it changes, because there are different priorities for different places. Thank you. I hope I answered your questions.
Благодарам, Флори. За време на вашата презентација споминавте една дата која е 9 мај 2015 година за дел од нас кои знаеме дека во мај се случува Скопскиот маратон. Се сеќавате дека 2015 година беше откажан во последен момент, но една група на млади спортисти го истрчаа маратонот околу градот во чест на сите млади луѓе и да покажат дека спортот знае да ги намали влијанието на штетите кои може да се случат во општеството. Следен говорник е Джералд Ханкерсон, кој е outreach координатор на Council on American Islamic Relationship. Јас би сакала да го поканам, рече дека ќе сака да стане и да презентира пред вас. Има 15 минути за неговата презентација и имате подоцна вие можност да му поставите прашања.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, blessings, and mercy of God be with each and every one of you. Again, I'm Gerald Hankerson. I am a native Chicagoan born and raised in the region. I have been in Chicago as a young black man in the communities that Tinny described for most of my youth, but I also lived on the other side of what it means to have opportunities and not necessarily wind up in situations that both not only Tinny but Selmy have worked with throughout their efforts to combat violence. I became Muslim when I was 16, going on 17 years old. And so I was born into a Christian family, but a lot of the things that I do since I became Muslim has been involved a lot in intercultural and interfaith engagement. So my role at CARE Chicago, what we call the Council of American Islamic Relations Chicago office, has a lot to do with not only the broader aspect of what it means to serve a community, but is truly rooted in a lot of my experiences and wanting to make sure that any other individual does not have opportunities, that they don't have a voice, and more specifically, that they have the promise. Because I remember how it was when I was young and I was told that I cannot do something, that I was labeled in a certain way, doomed to fail. So a lot of the things that not only myself, my colleagues, not only at CARE Chicago, but other places, we try to forge those types of relationships and efforts. Just again, want to make acknowledgments to the hosting organization, so thank you for having me here. So the organization CARE has its roots going back into the 90s, founded 25 years ago, but a good deal of the work that we have been doing really came into existence because of the September 11th attacks. In fact, majority of the CARE offices that have since opened were established after the 9/11 attacks because of the increase in hate crimes toward the Muslim community. With the community in the United States is very unique. And that's something that has been a constant conversation in our visits throughout Macedonia. We've talked about the unique, rich heritage that is your country, reflected in the beautiful diversity that is within all the different ethnic groups. And that is also the case in the United States, but a much younger country, and different forces that make the Muslim community look like what it is. So you could probably really can't tell for the picture, but there isn't a super majority of any racial or ethnic group, as well as individuals who are immigrants or descended from immigrants from countries or regions around the world where Muslims live. And the organization understood that very early on, that in order to represent the entire Muslim population, it needs to look like the Muslim population. It needs to be really sure that there isn't some type of test to say that you have to practice this particular type of Islam, that you have to look a certain way, believe in a certain practice, etc. So those have been really intentional efforts, and it's because of that we have become not only the largest civil rights advocacy group to serve the Muslim community, but we are also the most diverse. And that's not just excluded in racial and ethnic demographics, but also in gender equity as well. In fact, the board chairman of our organization is a woman. About half of the board memberships in most of the CARE offices are also of women, and they're not just in auxiliary roles, they're at the helms of the leadership. So there's a great deal of work that the organization takes on, and it's all come together with one purpose: to protect the civil rights as defined by the First Amendment in our United States Constitution, that every Muslim and every person in the United States has a freedom of religion to practice their faith or no faith as they see fit. And the Muslim community, as you would imagine, is as diverse and complex within the understandings, interpretations, and living of Islam as any other community with its own differences and similarities. And it's with that that we have to come together with, regardless of how we practice Islam and how we define it in our own personal lives, to work on behalf of the communities. Because unfortunately, when someone is being attacked, there's no clarification or pause from the attacker to say, what type of Muslim are you? And unfortunately, in some cases, some of the community members that we work with are not Muslim. These are individuals that look like they're Muslim to some. They may have certain languages they speak, names, or even similar styles of dress. But unfortunately, the way that discrimination has really flared up, other people who are not Muslim have also been attacked. And so that kind of lends itself to not only direct solidarity work, but also informing what the Muslim community could do as being allies to those communities. And so we're over 30 offices. Those are just some. And because of the need of the Muslim communities, notice not every state has it. So one of the things that will probably be discussed in a workshop in terms of there's a concern that not every hate crime is reported. And so there's a concerted effort from our organization to make sure that we can not only build new offices, but more importantly, at minimum, provide advocacy efforts in the communities. And so they report to our national offices in Washington, D.C. For our respective Chicago office, we are responsible for serving over 500,000 Muslims that mostly live in the Chicago metropolitan area. But in our state of Illinois, we're also responsible. And Illinois is a nice sized state to travel. If you were to travel from north to south, it could take anywhere, if you follow the speed limit, about 7 hours or so. But in most of the care offices that have been well established, these are the common teams that you'll see. I think I forgot to mention when we started, actually. So a quick story on that. As with most nonprofits, and I know when Florine asked, there was a good number of NGO representatives here, and that's good. So for us, we have two versions of our office. The first effort was post 9/11 in the year 2002 to really galvanize what was one of the largest Muslim communities. But like with most nonprofits, and I think one of the questions that was posed by the audience members points to this fact that it's very hard to mobilize. It's very much of an effort to get the community members to buy in. And so that was one of the problems, and the organization closed. There were still individuals that were a part of that first effort, and they came back and really pushed why there's a need for civil rights representation in Chicago. And that's the organization that now exists. We have a staff of about a dozen people, and we host internships, and we have volunteers throughout the year. We usually, on average, have about 60 team players that come and assist in the civil rights work. The mission, the vision, and the philosophy were all tailored at the time we started to remind the Muslim community that you should not be afraid to be proactive, to be engaged, to mobilize, and to stand in solidarity with others. This is one of the issues that have really, prior to 9/11, really kept the Muslim community in silos. The Muslim community really, in very rare forms, barely did not only just interfaith engagement, but any type of efforts to learn who their neighbors are, to get involved with their politicians and understand how their laws and other services could best serve them. So there was really an effort to really encourage the Muslim community. While there are needs and responsibilities that the government expects from us, we also have our role to play. So with the mission, in terms of defending civil rights and fighting bigotry, that has always been really what revolves around our work each and every single day. The basis of any care organization is the civil rights work. Again, with the First Amendment rights to freedom of religion, that has not always been the case for the Muslim community and for other communities for that matter. But the point of the Civil Rights Department is to make sure that the laws that we have, that they're not only followed by the federal government, but all the way to their state and local elements. And so when a community member, for whatever reasons, if someone was physically attacked, if someone was fired for their job for being a Muslim, if a student wanted to pray and were prevented to do so, the community members would contact us directly or through their mosque, other trusted friends and family to report what is going on. And then from there, we pursue an illegal effort to make sure that it's some type of remedy. Oftentimes, majority of our cases are solved through conflict resolution. It's through a legal recourse, but for the most part, it's with the understanding a lot of people just don't know that they're not fully aware not only of the laws, but just because they may not be familiar with Muslims and Islam. So most of the time, we're not trying to go to the courts, but unfortunately, in the last several years, there have been some really concerted efforts, and that has made it even unfortunate, where the full court system has to be brought in. When our communications department, one of the things that's very prevalent, not only with the Muslim community, but often a lot of underserved and marginalized communities, is whatever portrayals that you will see in the media is one that's very negative. It's one that causes them to be seen not as fully American, not to be trusted. And so the narratives that come forth is not from the mouths of Muslims. It's not from their experiences. It's not from their insights. It's not from their needs or dreams that can also be seen as fit perfectly within the American understanding what is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the communications department makes sure that there is a relationship with not only local media, but various media sources to accurately talk about what is happening with the Muslim community. Not only in a sense of religiosity, but what it means as Muslims are viable contributors to our society. What it means that there is the immigrant community that cannot speak English, but what it also means for the student that wears the hijab and that she's in sports, since that was an example that was used earlier. But we also create our own media as well, because it's important that we share our stories. And I'm sure that most of us, even if you're not in an NGO, on any given basis, we have experiences where we exchange our stories, and it's meaningful. And so that is something that's very key in helping people to understand the lives of Muslims in the United States. The research department is very essential for one reason only. Again, there's not too much information that's come from major institutions and influencers to understand what life is like for the Muslim community in the United States. And for good reason. After the 9/11 attacks, it was very much, even though with some people reminded that Islam is a religion of peace, you still had much larger, louder voices saying that Muslims cannot be trusted, they're terrorists, Islam hates America, all these different cliches and tropes that ultimately made it possible to say that Muslims are pretty much not American. So with the research department, it's very essential that, again, we help really gather data, but not just keep it in numbers and stats and margins of errors. It's important to tell a story from this data to really much say that the Muslim community is not only here in numbers, but they are viable contributors to the society at large. And then there's always the basis of a good deal of our visits always talk about capacity issues in terms of why we don't have a youth center, or we want to do things, but there's the budget and the politicians don't have the time and things of that sort. So the heads of our executive team really make sure that there is the strategy making, but also more specifically, the ways that we can really leverage the Muslim community to be more strong and more engaged with not only amongst ourselves, but through other institutions in the community. Then there's me. The outreach department, really, if to sum it up, there's really 3 areas. 2 of these specifically under the auspices of outreach, which are very broad and many details in between, is community relations and outreach. So me really connecting with various communities, bringing communities together in coalition building and partnerships, solidarity work. But also in terms of opportunities for youth and service, and a good number of our programs are now oriented towards the internships, but we also have a vibrant youth program called the Muslim Youth Leadership Symposium Initiative, which is modeled in other care offices as well, that really focus at not when you're an adult, which in the United States, 18, you're able to go vote, fight in wars, things of that sort, but start much earlier in junior high school to better understand that your life as Muslim and being a resident or a citizen of the United States does not have to be these polar opposites. And so really to try to forge an understanding how citizenship can really reflect better in the lives of youth all the way into broader communities. With the Government Affairs Division, pretty much that's the civic engagement arm. In other words, how is it that we can really test our lives here as individuals who can vote, but also really be able to talk about the things that are happening in Congress, in Washington, D.C., and our state legislatures. So I think I'm over time, so I'm just going to stop there. So, thank you.
Gerald, thank you very much. I have my mic. Thanks. 15 минути, интересни презентации, малко поинаков осврт, малко повеќе за предрасудите. Ваше време за прашање за Джералд. Едно прашање таму, две.
So my question is regarding to the Muslim situation right now in China and India. I would like to know how here in Chicago is responding to that.
Второто прашање. Следува дали имаме некој друг уште едно во ова пакетче? Третото во ред.
My question. Okay, sorry. My question is because we listen your organization, your vision, what is your mission about tolerance. I want to ask, do you have in your project organization some project connection, cooperation with church, for example, your organization, to cooperate with church, and if you have this kind of project, can you explain us how you build together the tolerance, I don't know, like this?
Благодарам. Има уште едно прашање.
Përshëndetje, s'pari desha që falenderoj gjithë panelistët që ndan këto mendime me ne. Jam një student i filozofisë, kam kryer studimet në Stamboll. Desha të bëj një pyetje ose një ndërhyrje pak më gjenerale, jo vetëm rreth zotriut që pati fjalën tani. Tash ngjuam disa lloje modelesh për parandalimin e dhunëve që na treguan nga Chicago dhe vende tjera. Pyetja ime direkte do të ishte edhe ndaj Florimit. Këtu në Maqedoni më shumë t'i shohim në nxitje dhune se sa dhunë të vërtet. Sa punojnë organizatat jo qeveritare për ndalimin ndaj nxitjes dhunës, se në Maqedoni më shumë t'i shohim nxitje nga politika që në prag të zgjedhjeve çdo herë ne kemi një problem nacional ose fetar ose të këtyre të ndryshmeve. Do thotë unë nuk shoh dhunë këtu në Maqedoni nga masat, po shoh vetëm nxitje të dhunës nga disa kazane që zihen këtu në Maqedoni. Unë desha kërkoj edhe nga panelistët që të tregojnë disa lloje të parandalimeve të dhuneve që kanë bërë në përvendet e tyre dhe na tregojnë atë metodën për parandalimin e nxitjes së dhunës që bëhet nga pushteti ose qeveria këtu në Maqedoni. Faleminderit.
Благодарам. Четврто прашање имаме напред.
I would like to ask something similar to the question back there, but in a different specificity. What is your organization approach to the LGBTQ community, and how do you connect the religious community with this community? Because I think it's very important to stress this issue. Thank you.
И последно прашање, пето.
One more question from me. So when I was teaching in Northern Illinois University, so when I said I'm from Macedonia, I'm Albanian, and I'm also Muslim, the students were afraid. So this is very bad psychologically because terrorism has no religion. There are just bad people and business, both sides. This part hurts my heart always when I'm there. All the time when you say you're Muslim, they look like afraid from you. You have to work in this part to all Americans over there. So there is no enemy between Muslims and United States and Muslims. We are all people and we have to protect and love each other.
Ви благодаря много. Тири, вашето време за отговори.
Thank you for your questions. All right. So I'm going to try to start from the questions that more specific to the United States and then grow more broadly. And I believe there was a question again for you. So first and foremost, the question regarding working with businesses and churches and the like. A good deal of the basis for our work is really understanding that for the most part, the Muslim community was treated as if it just arrived when the 9/11 attacks happened. However, the Muslim community has pretty much been in what is now the United States of America since the early 17th century, when the first Africans that were brought over enslaved in 1619. For example, my family, there's at least 9 generations going back to the early 1700s. So of the Africans that came, anywhere between 10 to 40% were Muslim. But over time, Islam, as it was understood in that era, pretty much died out because enslaved Africans were prohibited to practice their faith or anything affiliated with their culture. And so it would take up to the late 1880s to have any direct presence of Islam to be lived in the United States. But even at that time, individuals that were coming over, they had to blend in, and Islam could not necessarily flourish or even be recognized truly. And so then you had another period that went by, and then you had in the 20s and 30s, the sort of self-empowerment and realization of the blacks at the time with their connections to the many countries and kingdoms in Africa. And realizing that for some, Islam was a part of their heritage. And although they did not practice Islam that most people would identify with, they had an understanding that there were many beautiful lessons and ways to even live it. And for a time, that was the only Islam that was understood. You then had to shift to the civil rights movement in the 60s, and there was an important legislation that came about. This legislation opened up quotas for people from countries and continents of color, namely Latin America, South America, Africa, and Asia. More of these populations were able to immigrate, and therefore you had a lot of the communities that now in the present day, everyone that's sitting here is represented in some capacity in terms of their heritage in the United States. Even with all this rich heritage, it's still very much unknown. And many people would say that the United States is a Judeo-Christian country. And so pretty much from the very offset, interfaith engagement had to be essential. One of the challenges for us was not only being able to work with Christians in the Jewish community, people of the book as it's called in Islam, but people of various faiths. And the works that we have done vary from really understanding what's in the roots and the traditions that they follow, all the way to how it could be applied in the context of where we live in our community. So, quick example. In most faiths, it's understood that if you do a type of job, that you're fairly paid for that work. This is in many traditions. And oftentimes, and this is something that was talked about in Tenny's work, there's many people that have jobs, but they're cheated out their wages. There are other things that make work unsafe. And it's also the possibility that individuals may not even have the promise of staying in the communities that they have. Something similar here. You guys are saying that many people want to leave. So it's with the different faith communities to identify what is in the Quran, what's in the Bible, what's in the Torah, what's in the other holy texts, and how we apply that and come together in coalition work and pretty much fight for a minimum wage that allows people to live and not have to work 3 or 4 jobs and not be there for their families. There's an effort to make sure that people have the right to strike if conditions are not poor. We worked with the Jewish community on this, for example, and a lot of people are still shocked that a Muslim organization could work right alongside the Jewish community. But it's the matter of fact that our faith traditions, let alone our shared experiences in Chicago, make it possible. In terms of businesses, it's really just understanding that a lot of the culture in the United States allow for business to, as we say, give back. So because businesses are often able to enjoy profits, but it's also very good to understand that people need to believe that there is something more than just making money. There's other people to try to get where they are. So a lot of times we work with businesses is to really underscore that there's so much services that could be provided, and that's for them is to work with us to say, for example, one initiative was to help with urban agricultural farming. There's a lot of vacant lots in Chicago, and this was a social justice issue. How are some people don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables instead of very unhealthy foods? And so several businesses were able to come together along with nonprofits like Care Chicago and be able to speak to that issue, because at the end of the day, it's about social justice. So it's a balance of, when it comes to churches or businesses or other institutions, really seeing what we have in common and be able to forge things from there. With the LGBTQIA community, one of the things that has also been really stark, almost in the same parallels of Muslims and Jews don't get along, is the understanding that Muslims supposedly do not like or even hate members of that community. And of course, they talk about what's taught in Islam about homosexuality. But again, in our organization, and this is throughout the entire CARE organization, we're a civil rights organization. So we define ourselves as that, not a religious one. Because of that particular premise, it allows us to understand that for those of us who are Muslim, not every employee of CARE is a Muslim. We have people of different faiths. But for those who are Muslim, our faith teaches us that anyone that is facing injustice, we're supposed to fight for them as well. So there was the infamous massacre in Orlando, Florida at a nightclub where nearly 50 people were shot and killed. And unfortunately, the shooter was someone who was Muslim. Now, before that incident, CARE Chicago actually had connections within the local LGBTQIA community. And the reason for that is we all were able to understand that we were treated as being the other, that we were not seen as fully normal, let alone trustworthy. But when that particular incident happened, there was a local effort, not only with our two respective communities, the Latinx community was brought in, the city of Chicago, educators and other civic groups to be able to start having conversations. And because of those efforts, there have been more joint social justice works brought between the two. But it's even must go further, because inside the Muslim community, there are more of our young people and even some adults that identify with as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and the other identities that cannot even be fully engaged because of the stigma of being in the community. So that's something that we're pushing, and sometimes we get pushback from the likes of mosque and other major leaders, but it's something that we believe, and that's something that we've been constant in. When we're talking about, what was the other one? This was actually a question that was just asked yesterday about the Uyghurs in China and Rohingya in Myanmar and other populations. But those have been the most two, even though I know the question was more specific about India. But the CARE always focuses on the local community first. And that's a concerted effort, because there's a lot of attention that is understandably so sent back to communities abroad. And there's something about the communities in the United States. The Muslim communities have not been able to develop in some cases. They still live in fear. They still live in apathy. So that's one of the fights to really kind of focus in on what's happening at home. But because United States foreign policy has evolved in so many places, and we talk about human rights abuses, we're actively always involved in conversations with our members in Congress to let it be known that they have the possibility to change, not only through just rhetoric or diplomacy, but through actual actions, through policies going forward. So that's actually an ongoing effort that myself and other care officers are involved with, in making sure that not only Uyghurs and Rohingya are there, but if they come to the United States and seeking asylum or refugee status, that we're also there to help provide and walk them through the process. So I'll stop there.
Джералд, ви благодарам многу. Уште 45 минути од целата оваа сесија. Јас би сакала сега малку внимание ваше и Слободно.
Yeah, okay. So if I could recall, you were talking about violence, yeah? Among incitement to violence, yeah? So we do tackle this issue, and we do understand that there are people and politicians who incite to violence, and this is maybe one of the it's good that we are here together to also tackle this elephant in the room, that, for example, a lot of time when we speak of radicalization and violent extremism, we most of the time refer it to the religious communities, which is also a problem within its own, and it's more in a global context. At a local level, it is a problem which is present since this country is formed, and that's violence among young people, mostly from different ethnic communities. And that's an issue that is never got a response from the institutions. Call it a police, call it a prosecutor, call it a judge. So at all levels, this is thrown under the carpet. And we are always a big advocate for this problem. Thankfully, OSCE is today here with us, and we have worked closely with OSCE in trying to emphasize this problem from the international community perspective, and that we call it hate speech and hate crime. And OSCE has, together with SID, we've been working for years in making institutions aware on specifically police and judges into how to persecute such cases. And as well as we've been working with the OSCE on the ground with a monitoring unit in also trying to stop this hate speech, and as well as the incitement to violence and possible hate crimes among young people. This is really our problem, and we've been in a lot of panels. We've talked a lot with institutions, but then they really it's a common struggle that the NGOs have, and also people in everyday life, that no hate crime has been since persecuted. And we know that hate crime exists, and it is present, and it is happening every day. And that comes to the responsibility of politicians, that you vote people who represent you, and people who talk about their vision and talk about what are their plans for your future. Thank you.
Благодарам, Флори. Сметам дека сега се сите прашања одговорени. Имате нешто да додадете во овој момент? Не. Ми треба вашето полно внимание. Треба да се осврнете на вашето тело. Присутни сте овде, меѓу нас. Дел од вас сигурно не се уште заспани. Пробајте да најдете каде е вашето десно рамо, и само турнете го нанапред. Сите, дури и тие што работат во кабините за превод. Само нанапред турнете го десното рамо. Ред? Може ли левото рамо истото да го направите? Турнете го нанапред, левото рамо. Пробајте. Пробајте да го дигнете левото рамо, пробајте да го дигнете десното рамо. И само опуштате ги. Океј? Можете ли да правите кругови сега со рамениците? Не треба ништо да правите друго. Само кругови, нанапред или наназад. Супер! Може ли да замолам да ја спуштате главата, вратот, со главата на десното рамо. Спуштате ја. Полека, немајте нешто да се укочи некој. Само полека. И истото тоа, ама полека ве молам, на левата страна. Да видам дали можете да подигнете главата, брадата високо и само наназад. И истото тоа, нанапред. Океј, значи све можело. Будни сте. Вие седите, јас стојам, ама ќе седнам и ќе замолам под маса само да дигнете едната нога од коленици, стапалото дигнете го, десната па левата на 2 пати. Да. Нешто многу забушавате. Гледам дека никој не вежба. Вика, дигнав и вака само стапалото го подига. И тоа е вежба, господине, и тоа е вежба. И конечно, исправете целата рака, не само дланката, целата десна рака пред вас, левата рака и дадете еден убав аплауз. Мислам дека овој аплауз е одлична најава за Мерал Мусли Тајроска, која е извршна директорка на Плејадес, Сдруженијето, и е консултант за екстремизам и радикализација. Мерал, вашите 15 минути, повелете. 15.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be amongst such a variety of experts in the PVCV world, and it is my special honor to talk in front of young people. I firstly want to thank CIT for inviting me to this important event. I feel very honored about that, and I want to welcome WorldChicago for joining us today. And secondly, this is a man's world, but I am very happy to be the woman in the center of it.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Rightfully so.
Thank you. So, as you've heard, my name is Meral, and I am the CEO of the NGO Pleiades. But most of you know me probably as the ambassador of Women Without Borders. I am very pleased to be today with you to share my experience and my thoughts on a couple of issues that I think we have been overlooking. As any other field in the world is changing, so is the PVCV field. My work has been usually related to women's role in PVCV, but not only as experts or as consultants, but also women's role in terrorism. So unfortunately, I cannot brag that I have been on the front working with young people, but I have dealt with their mothers. There have been over 100 mothers who have talked about this so-called Pandora's box, or also known as their constantly changing adolescent child. Which leads me to share an interesting situation that I was part of at the very beginning of my career in PVCV. So I was part of this situation a couple of years ago. At this workshop, an expert came to me and she asked me, "What do you think about the brain drain in your country?" And mind you, I was thinking she was talking about a tumor in the brain, because I was at the very beginning of my career. I had no idea what she's talking about. I even got angry at her because I thought, she doesn't know the difference between a psychologist, a neurologist, a psychiatrist. So I answered, "How would I know? I'm just a psychologist. I deal with feelings." Now that's an awkward situation to be in, but it did teach me a lesson. I understood that I was being behind, not only because I was working with mothers, but I wasn't directly working with young people. And maybe that gave me the opportunity to be an observer, just to see how adults struggle with young people and not knowing how to approach them. So I came to the realization that adults tend to forget something very important, and that is that young people are not helpless little people that we need to save and guide 24 hours a day. You see, young people have something that we that most of us don't, and that is the willpower of experimenting with the environment that they are usually in. And something even better, they do have the luxury of learning by making mistakes. Now more than ever, there are institutions and organizations paying attention what young people need. But instead of telling them what to do, it is our responsibility to give them the platform where they can strive, experiment, and learn by making mistakes. I am saying this because usually young people don't do what they're told to do. So instead of telling them what to do, I think they need role models in their lives, especially in my country. And oh, do we lack of role models, especially given that all these clowns are running our country. I would also like to share my experience that I had while working with mothers, and some of the testimonials that mothers used to share with me about their adolescent children who unfortunately had joined ISIS groups in Syria. It was not an easy thing to do for them to open up about their children and why they left. But something that caught my attention was how they were saying something that was being repeated over and over again. And that was that they thought ISIS gave their children something that was the obligation of my country and my government to give to those children. And that is a purpose, a sense of belonging, inclusiveness, and money. Yes, we can all deny that people haven't joined ISIS because of money, but we all know that's not true. People have joined ISIS groups because of financial purposes, and we all know that. So I ask all of you here today, are we really forgiving people for their mistakes? Or are we looking down on them from our high horses just because we are on the other side of violent extremism? And I'm asking these questions because as I speak with you at this very moment, there are women, there are young people, and there are children in al-Hol camps trapped. They left for multiple reasons, and we can all argue about those reasons. But you should not forget that there have been people who left against their will. So I still think, even though we know that, and we know that there are also innocent people among them, we are still not doing everything we can to bring them back. But let's not forget that we are not saying they shouldn't face the consequences of what they have done. We are just saying that it is the basic human right to give them the opportunity to face the law and the consequences of their choices. Policymakers, donors, and stakeholders and practitioners know that the longer those people are down there, the faster the time bomb is going to tick. Yet we choose to be judgmental instead of what we really are. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are peace builders. Let's not forget that. It is clear that more military forces, surveillance, police in combating terrorism is not enough. What is essential is the holistic approach in order to prevent violent extremism. Thank you.
Ви благодарам, Мерал. Дали имате прашања?
Can I have a pen, please? Thank you.
Përshëndetje të gjithëve, unë jam Eren Ali, jam student i drejtësisë nga Universiteti Interkombëtar Ballkanik, po ashtu dhe jam në cilësinë e përfaqësuesit të grupit rinor Zgjohu, që është në nivel komunal dhe jo formal. Dua të shtoj se kemi ndjekur shumë shpesh kundër radikalizmit islamik dhe kundër radikalizmit të ndryshëm që janë ekzistuese në shtetin tonë. Kemi vërejtur se format të cilat organizatat të ndryshme neve na kanë paraqitur për andalimin dhe luftimin e asaj kanë qenë jo në mënyrë të duhur. Pse? Sepse shumë shpesh neve apo participantët tonë kanë qenë të irrituar nga video që ato janë shfaqur në mënyrë jo korrekte, nga formulimi dhe nga strategjia jo e duhur për ta parandaluar atë dukuri. Dua ta potencoj shumë qartë dhe në mënyrë të veçantë, për shembull ishte një video që ishte shumë irrituese ndaj aktivistave dhe ato menjëherë shfaqen një reagim se nuk është e drejtë kjo mënyrë, nëse ti nuk je një besimtar dhe ti dëshiron të i qasësh në një formë tolerance, kjo është mënyra më e paduhur e mundshme. Ishte një nën që sapo kishte nduar hijabin, kishte marrë fëmijët, ishte një video shumë e shkurtër për 1 minutësh dhe e gjithë procesi u shkoi në ISIS. Kjo nuk është një formë e duhur se si duhet ta shpjegoni, se si duhet ta shohim ne fejan, sepse aty është paraqitur edhe forma se si duhet neve të ju qasim fes, jo në formë radikalizmi apo në formë ekstremizmi, që të shfaqet dhe të ketë pasoja të mëpashme, dhe neve si organizat shumë shpesh e kemi parandalu format të ndryshme që neve na kanë ardhur për ta bërë këtë gjë, edhe i kemi refuzuar, sepse më tepër ka shkaktuar huti, se se ka shkaktuar një ndjenjë mirësie për tolerancë. Dhe juve si organizat, juve si po ashtu ju përshëndesim të gjithë panelit juve, edhe këtu ka shumë organizata tjera të cilët mirën me këtë çështje, se si juve i qaseni kësaj dukurie që dëshironi ju të parandaloni diçka, mirë po format se si paraqiten janë shumë diskutabile. Ju фалимдерет.
Ви благодаря много. Дали има прашања? Не. Дали има некој коментар? Не. Мерал?
Благодарам за прашањето. Начинот на кој што се представува религијата, особено видеата кои што ги имаме за превенција на насилен екстремизам, моментално не се баш на ниво и се согласувам со тоа и дури мислам дека прават поголема штета отколку што ја информираат јавноста за што се работи. Има други организации кои што се во Англија, мислам дека треба да ги побарате, Moonshot се викаат, кои што баш имаат многу интересни видеа за превенирање на насилен екстремизам, односно тие видеа се насочени кон младите луѓе. Тоа можете да го побарате, кај нас за жал се уште, прво ќе бидеме искрени, ние за жал се уште не зборуваме на оваа тема на отворен начин на кој што треба да разговараме. Кога би можела, кога сега би пребарала низ мозокот колку пати сум учествувала на конференции каде што ова тотално 100 пати сме го збореле, би се зачудил. И дали сме направиле нешто? Да, сме мрднале, да, сме направиле неколку чекори напред, меѓутоа не сме таму каде што ние би сакале да сме. Особено ако збориме, еве ќе го спомнам затоа што го спомнам секојаш, делот за реинтеграција, например. Не да сме назад, онака би можеле да се смеете колку сме назад. Прво, ради тоа што нашето општество не е спремно за тие луѓе, а се враќаат, и потоа ние како организации, ние како институции и ние како држава не сме спремни ни за нив. Тоа е уште еден друг проблем. А не па да збориме за видеа, имаше една организација беше присутна тука, која што мислам дека сега замина, не ги гледам тука, прават видеоигрици наскоро за млади луѓе преку видеоигрица да се информираат и да биде тоа вид на превенција кон насилен екстремизам. Така да очекувам во иднина дека ќе има повеќе опции за вас, а и за нас, искрено да кажам, и веројатно ќе има подобри алатки кои што можат да ви се презентираат. И фала на прашањето, многу добро прашање инаку.
Ви благодарам многу. Половина час имаме до крај на овој блок. Последниот наш говорник денеска е Семи Ренгел, кој е коосновач и извршен директор на Life After Hate. Многу интересен назив на организација. Ќе имате можност 15 минути да слушнете многу повеќе за тоа што тие работат.
Good afternoon. maybe you would consider not starting my timer just yet. If I could ask Sammy to come up from Multiculti, I forget this, in what city? Kumanovo. This organization really moved all of us when we met these young people, and I feel that, no disrespect intended, but that we have done an inadequate job of recognizing the youth presence here today. I think they should somehow be the center of the stage and the center of our attention. And perhaps what I have felt over the last 3 days is that we talk a lot about who's leaving, but not enough about who is staying. And we need to support these young people. So I'm sharing my story with your community center because I want to model that it's important to use your voice to motivate people towards social evolution. Thank you, Sammy, and thank you for your leadership in this community. We're going to start with a short video. It's 2 minutes long. Bear with me, please. Thank you. There should be sound. Technology. We practiced for 30 minutes before this.
You can dance, you can sing, you can entertain us. I can help you with that.
Last night, but actually, I've learned that what happens in Macedonia should stay in Macedonia.
Yeah.
I won't.
We've heard that so many times. We know that.
It's quite all right. Let's move forward because I know we're running out of time. It's okay. No problem. This video is on our website at Life After Hate. I was eager to see what you thought of it because I know you had an opinion about how we present these issues, and to kind of add an additional comment to your question about why and how. I think a part of the problem that we're trying to solve is that there's not enough of a critical mass. There's not enough of the people in this space working together to make sure that good practices are happening. And so I think the first thing we have to do is organize. These are international issues, and so we need international organization to inform this space. So I appreciate your comments and your questions around that. If we could just move over to the PowerPoint, that'd be great. Awesome, thank you. I won't pretend that 5 days, 6 days has been enough for me to know everything I need to know about Macedonia. But I will say that there are 3 things that have occurred since I've been here that have changed kind of my reality. 1, this is a beautiful place. Beautiful people. 2, your youth are in many ways more advanced than youth in other countries that I have met. That is 2. And 3, that there is a will and a desire, a growing will and desire by the people of this community to resolve its problems. And I think that when we focus on youth, that is enough of a motivation for us to want to do better. My friend Florin was asking, who was in the room? Are there any social workers in this room? I know this might seem like a minor detail, but that is a major problem. Social workers are really a part of the system that help the system address problems directly. We're social activists. We are advocates. We help look at systems that affect people and try to come up with ways to improve those systems. I would like to be a part of any type of solution or effort to bring more social workers to your educational system and to your communities, and would encourage the youth who are here today to consider a career in social work, because that will help you address many of the complex problems that you're facing while you're here. My name is Sammy. I am the executive director of a nonprofit from the United States. It is a group that was started by ex-neo-Nazis or ex-white nationalists, with the exception of myself. I'll get into who I am and what I was, but today we are working together to do a couple of things. We are helping men and women who are in these domestic terrorist hate groups in the U.S. leave. We're finding a way to get them out. We're also being forced to think about how to support their families in dealing with someone who is in their families, their loved ones, who are in these hate groups as well. We also spend a lot of time in front of community, trying to help community understand what is happening, help them prepare when they know that a hate group will visit, or what to do when a hate group has visited their community and caused problems for them. And the third thing, which I think is quite critical, is that we are partnering on a number of research areas to try to improve this space, to try to create a best practice in working with, in counseling, and identifying the root problems that lead to domestic terrorism in the United States. Our model is based on an international model, but we have designed that to be practical for the United States. A bit about who I am. I am a person who have spent 16 years in total of my life in some sort of institution or prison. In 2 different states back at my homeland. I am considered one of the most dangerous inmates at one point in those 2 states. I was known for, no worries, it's safe today. I have changed. I'm working on it. But I understand. I do understand. You made me forget what I was saying. I was so moved by your comment. I have spent most of that time in prison in some sort of segregation or isolation. I have been out of prison for 20 years, and I think this is an important point that I would like you to capture. I spent so much time in segregation that 20 years later, I am still recovering from the effects of being isolated so long, that make it very difficult for me to just have a sense of normalcy, to have a sense of intimacy, to have a sense, I even struggle today knowing when people are close to me and when people are not. And sometimes I find myself quiet for days at a time, which is something that you just get used to when you're isolated so much. But that's very difficult to do when you have 5 daughters. Let that sink in. Yes, 5 daughters. They are probably more behind my rehabilitation than anyone else. They are stubborn, they are brave, they are courageous, they are resilient, and they hold me accountable. They don't let me get away with things. Quite often they are saying, ouch, and letting me know, informing me how I can be a better parent. So the way that we treat people that we have to hold accountable matters. And many of the institutions that at one point housed me have been condemned or were shut down because they were found by the court systems to be inhumane. So we have to find better ways to even hold those accountable when it comes to punishment or when it comes to some sort of rehabilitation effort. However, you can see below the red line, I have spent the last 20 years working very hard to develop myself. I believe that personal development is important. I have a long track record of counseling and mentoring and different types of engagements with people who guide me. I would tell you that the #1 thing in my life that has led to my success are the people I have surrounded myself with in this new life. They have all fed me and taught me things that I needed to know about life, because nothing about the first 30 years prepared me to be a responsible human being who cared about what was happening in the world, much less within himself. College was also a life-changing experience, but it was also very therapeutic in and of itself. It is something about being informed and something about learning how to connect to the world through these teachings that people share with you. And the role of teachers. I'm speaking to this young person here, that you mentioned you were a teacher several times. The role of teachers played a critical role in my life. They became my friends, they became my mentors, they became the people who introduced me to opportunities in my community. They taught me more about myself than I expected. I thought I was going there to learn about math or science or history, and what I really learned was how to be a better person. The role of a teacher is probably right next to the role of a social worker. And I've held a number of jobs at this point, but all in the social work field. I'm a mental health therapist. I typically work, for lack of a better term, with men and women who have the most serious problems. Violence, aggression, addictions, certain types of mental health problems. And I've also spent 16 years working with youth in an outreach capacity who are in that same level of danger, that same level of risk. And I've had some success in helping people change their lives. Learning how to tell my story helped me understand how to help people tell theirs in a way where their story no longer controlled them, but motivated them and held them up. We've had a number of awards in my life, and this work is really not about recognition for me. It is not about who gives me what award. But I will tell you, this is related to Life After Hate. In 2016, the Obama administration gave our organization $500,000 to fight white supremacy in the United States. The new administration that exists now, when they came into office, they took that money back. But in that same week that they took that money back, the United Nations approached my organization and said, we want to recognize you for your efforts, your humanitarian efforts in fighting this type of terrorism in your country. And that was worth more than the $500,000 anyone could have given or taken from us. It was important for them to stand with us, and we felt that way. I think it's also young people in the room that it's important that you be creative and that you share what you create with the world around you, because it will influence and it will create a new reality for the people that you encounter in life. And so I believe telling your story is one magical way to do that, but creating programs by you for people like you is also, because you are not alone, and when you have a feeling, it is likely that someone else has that feeling. When you have a thought, it is likely that someone has that thought with you. And so when you share those thoughts and you share those ideas in an organized way, you are helping people to evolve. You're helping people to feel a part of the community. And that is important for you, to share your ideas. A lot of times we are worried that nobody will like our idea. I started a group for men and women who are addicted to violence. And the first meeting, there were only 2 of us for 4 weeks, only 2 of us. And I'm like, no one likes this idea. It was a stupid idea. Nobody likes it. Today, it's in prisons, it's in group homes, it's in shelters, it's in other countries. People like the idea. It just took a while for the idea to catch on. And so I think it's important to be creative. Bear with me here. One of the major things that we're doing to try to create that critical mass is that, one, we realize that, I think you said it, that not enough people talk about these issues. Not only do they not talk about these issues, there's very little adequate training in knowing how to deal with these issues. In the United States, there has never been a course offered to help people understand white supremacy. But you can go to any college and learn about gangs. And so we said this is not good. So we created a mental health approach with researchers, other NGOs from across the world that have been doing this work a lot longer than we have to inform our process. And what we've learned to do is to partner mental health, law enforcement, and formers. We call ourselves formers, men and women who have once been in those lifestyles, who are now trying to influence the way things are done today to de-radicalize and help people disengage from these movements. And that model seems to be working, because mental health gets to partner with someone who has been there and done that, who is being trained, who's being mentored, but who don't know much about the direct kind of contact to have with other extremists, like an extremist might. In addition to that, we feel that teaching law enforcement how to have a social work or a social perspective around these issues will help them learn that there are other alternatives other than arrest. Because although we cannot lock our way out of this situation, we can't lock people up enough to make this go away, we can love them enough to make them go away. And all people require, in some ways, a reminder that love, compassion, and empathy have a place in this space. And if it leads the way, it means more humane treatment for people that we want to come back to our community. Just as a side note, as I wrap up here, I want to show you something to kind of show evidence that this approach that we're using when it comes to, oh, I went too far. No, I really went too far. Never mind. Okay, yeah. And I've shared this, a bigger slide to have more. It's way at the end, it's okay. There was a man named Randy who went to a rally to support white supremacy. Randy had the uniform on. You could tell. He was announcing that he was a Nazi. He had big, giant swastikas, shaved head, mean face like mine. And he got to the protest late. So who he ran into were all the counter-protesters, all the anti-fascists. And he was determined to get through that group to get to where the other white supremacists were. And so he started to walk through the room, much like this, among screaming, angry, aggressive people. And as he's walking, they notice him and they start harassing him. They start punching him. They start kicking him. He said somebody was stabbing him in his legs and in his arms with like needles, like to try to hurt him. And there's a picture of Randy as he's bleeding, his tooth has been knocked out, his jaw was broken, but he has a smile on his face as they're doing this to him. And that treatment was telling Randy, this is why I am the way I am. This is the reason I have to be the way I am. But in the middle of that, a black man who was there, anti-fascist who was there, saw what the crowd was doing to him and went to protect him. And he ended up grabbing the neo-Nazi, Randy, and telling people to leave him alone and trying to get him through the crowd. They left together. They left that rally together. And on that day, Randy left the white power movement. I want you to see that, understand that. He left the movement behind. And because of that compassion and kindness that individual showed him, it forced him to rethink his life and his ideas. And his life is not easy today, but he is one of the success stories that is very possible to happen here if we can have a similar approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Семи ви благодарам многу за целата презентација. Сега ви давам вам простор на аудиториумот, ако имате прашања за Семи, гледам овдека 2, 3. Да, во ред.
Благодариме за интересната презентација. Имам едно кратко прашање. Кој беше клучниот момент на вашата пресвртница да премините од едната страна на другата страна? Што беше она што ве натера да размислувате за промена? Благодарам.
А моето е прашање во бидејќи имам чувство дека поларитет имаме во оваа држава, значи или едно или е друго, нема трета опција. Начин најлесен, односно, значи, ако е мнозинството припаѓа на тој поларитет, она што е малку, како да го претвориме во нешто полезно.
Ви благодарам. Позади имавме уште едно прашање.
So I don't want to bring your past back, but like I wanted to ask you to be more specific. What made you change to this person that you are today? What are the reasons and who helped you come to this?
И последно прашање овде, само момент. Повелете.
Не е прашање, е коментар, ако може да прокоментирам. Изразувам благодарност за Центарот за интеркултурен диалог и задоволство што сум присатна на ова што денеска се случува и слушнав. Јас сум Дракулевска Виолета, активиста сум во невладиниот сектор и во движењето за правата на жената, на децата и маргинализираните групи. Воодушевена сум од сите вас што слушнав, бидејќи имам искуство на присуства на вакви многу успешни збиднувања и доживеав дека еден круг видов овде од сите вас учесници, а тоа значи говориме за мирот, а мирот носи развој. Младите, иначе професор по биологија сум, каде што и како класен раководител постојано ги обединував учениците. Ги обединував така што им верував и ги почитував, а бев строг. Не им дозволував да бегаат и да лажат, но ги почитував и во нив ја негував личноста. Така сакам сите млади присатни овде што се независно и на политичка и на верска припадност, да се почитуваат, да си веруваме и да делуваме. Затоа што на вистина, кога ќе побараш ти од некој да биде личност која што треба да биде, да почитува, затоа што култура постои воспитаност, како што постои образование. Меѓутоа и ти треба да бидеш, да имаш разбирање и да му покажеш преку говорот, преку изгледот, дека го почитуваш, му веруваш. И верувајте дека навистина сите ќе бидеме заедно и заеднички ќе постигнуваме резултати, а не постојат виновници, а не да окривуваме затоа што секогаш тие виновници ќе постојат и понатаму. Ви благодарам уште еднаш, благодарам на невладината организација која што и посакувам многу успех и многу квалитетно работи, исто и на ОПСЕ кој што секогаш не поддржуваат и досега. Ви благодарам и навистина резултатите не мора сега да се видат, резултатите ќе ги имаме. Благодарам.
Ви благодарам многу. Семи, има уште едно? Дали може микрофонот да го однесете? Нека биде тоа последно за денеска, за тоа што имаме уште 6 минути. Повелете.
I wanted to ask if you were proud before your moment that you changed, like if you were like proud of yourself being named one of the most dangerous inmates in your prisons. So, like, that was my question.
Повелете се ми.
Thank you for those questions, and I see three of them as very similar in nature that will also allow me to answer the gentleman's question in the back. When you are a criminal, when you are lost to hate, yes, those types of titles lend itself to your identity, but it is it's instead of an identity, it's an image. It's not really who you are. It's the reflection that you put out. And at that time, from a very early age, when I left home at 11, because of what my parents were doing to me, I made a promise to myself at 11. And I don't know where this promise came from or how I knew to make it, but I promised myself I would not let anyone hurt me the way my family had hurt me. And somehow I took that to mean that I needed to be the strongest in my life, in my environment, that I needed to be the boldest, that I needed to be dominant, that I needed to be superior, because I saw the violence in my home came from my parents, and I thought, well, they're strong and they're in control and no one is hurting them, so I'll become the same way in order to prevent people from hurting me. And so I, from a very young age, worked very hard to become that violent, that aggressive. It was really, when you think about it today, it was really born out of fear. Fear of being hurt and a desire to want to be left alone by people that would hurt me. But I created that image, and that image was important to me because I felt it was what was keeping me alive in a world that I saw that was very dangerous. I've survived a lot of dangerous experiences, but I've survived because I became that way. That's what I was telling myself in those days. Which leads me to the three questions that are all very similar. The story that I told about Randy, in our organization, we have helped over maybe 450, 500 men and women leave these groups. And of those men and women, we all have very similar experiences like Randy, where someone showed us compassion and empathy in a moment when we were acting at our worst, but we did not deserve it, and yet they still found a way to be loving towards us. And I can tell you, as a violent, dangerous individual, you do not feel lovable. You honestly do not feel lovable. We spend a lot of time convincing ourselves that people love us, but they really don't. And how can they when I'm being so fake, when I'm being not true to myself? When I have no respect for humanity, how can anyone, truly get to me with love? And so you inside you know that you're not a lovable person. And so when somebody stops, doing whatever they're doing to love you, to experience, some sort of spiritual connection with you, when they can see past all the armor and all the image, it makes you wonder who they are. It makes you wonder what they're doing. It makes you wonder where they're coming from and why they're doing that to me, because I'm not expecting it. What I'm expecting is what I feel I've always gotten. I've been condemned my whole life, first by my family, then by my school, then by the systems that were supposed to protect me, then by the courts, and then by the prisons, and then by community when I came home. I was not prepared for someone to welcome me into their life. And it may sound overly simplistic, but it is not. That is truly the source of what is helping people transform. To dismantle hatred with your humanity is the only way I know to make progress in a space with such terrible anger and hatred. Thank you.
Уште еднаш големо благодарам за Мерал, за Джералд, за Тери, за Семи и за Флорим. Уште еднаш благодарам и од ваше име. Поздрав да нив. Ми беше драго дека одвоивте време и патувавте толку илјадници километри да споделите ваше собствено искуство со нам, да не мотивирате и да ни дадете до знаење дека е секогаш подобро да се спречи, отколку да се лечи. Ручекот е предвиден во следниот 1 час. Салата во која имаме послужено ручек се вика Ирис, ќе ја запамтите или по цвеќе или по око, нема трето. Се наоѓа на првиот спрат над рецепција, кога ќе дојдете, кога ќе излезете од оваа сала, од левата страна ви е рецепцијата, од десната страна се наоѓаат скали, качете се по нив горе во сала Ирис. 1 час и ве очекувам сите во 14 часот и 30 минути да бидете овде повторно. Ќе работиме во 3 паралелни групи и ќе имаме можност да зборуваме за медиуми, ќе имаме можност да зборуваме за како да пристапуваме во јавноста и како да креираме мир. Пријетен ручек!